In the world of global finance, there are moments that quietly reshape the future. Moments when a shift in technology, policy, or economic structure doesn't just save money, it changes the scale of possibility itself. Today, analysts, economists, and industry leaders are increasingly talking about one of those moments, a transformation so significant that its financial consequences are being measured not in millions, not even in billions, but in trillions of dollars. The phrase trillion-dollar impact is no longer theoretical. It is becoming a measurable projection, driven by forces that are already in motion around us. At the center of this discussion is a powerful idea. Costs across major sectors of the global economy could fall dramatically. And when costs fall at scale, across energy, transportation, manufacturing, healthcare, logistics, and digital infrastructure, wealth is not just redistributed, it is created. Entire industries become more efficient. Barriers to entry collapse, productivity accelerates. And when productivity rises faster than expenses, the result is one of the most important drivers of wealth creation in human history. To understand why experts believe this transformation could reach trillion-dollar magnitude, we need to step back and examine how costs shape the economy in the first place. Every product you buy, every service you use, every investment you make carries layers of cost embedded within it. Raw materials, labor, transportation, energy, financing, compliance, infrastructure, and technology all contribute to the final price. When even one of those layers becomes cheaper, ripple effects spread throughout the system. But when multiple layers fall simultaneously, which is what we are beginning to see, the effects compound exponentially. One of the clearest examples comes from technological efficiency. Over the past few decades, technology has consistently reduced the cost of computation, communication, and automation. But what makes the current period different is the convergence of multiple cost-reducing technologies at the same time. Artificial intelligence is improving decision-making and automation. Advanced robotics is lowering manufacturing expenses. Renewable energy is reducing power costs. Cloud computing is shrinking infrastructure spending. Digital platforms are eliminating intermediaries. And supply chain optimization tools are cutting waste across industries. When these forces interact, they don't simply add savings, they multiply them. Imagine a manufacturing company that adopts AI-driven production planning, robotic assembly, cheaper renewable energy, and predictive maintenance systems simultaneously. Labor costs drop, downtime decreases, energy expenses shrink, and output quality improves. That company can either increase its profit margins or reduce its prices to gain market share. Either choice changes the competitive landscape. Now multiply that effect across thousands of companies globally, and the economic scale becomes enormous. Another major factor behind potential trillion-dollar cost reductions is the decline in energy costs. Energy is the foundation of modern civilization. It powers factories, transportation networks, data centers, homes, and cities. Historically, energy expenses have acted as a constraint on economic growth. When energy prices rise, inflation follows. When energy becomes cheaper, productivity expands. The rapid advancement of renewable energy technologies, particularly solar, wind, and energy storage, has dramatically reduced the cost per unit of electricity in many regions. In some cases, renewable energy is already cheaper than fossil fuels without subsidies. As storage technology improves and grids become smarter, the reliability of low-cost energy continues to increase. Over time, cheaper energy reduces manufacturing costs, transportation costs through electrification, and even residential expenses. Lower energy costs function like a global tax cut, freeing capital for investment and consumption. Transportation is another sector where dramatic cost reductions could create massive wealth effects. Autonomous driving technology, electrification of vehicles, and optimized logistics networks have the potential to reduce the cost of moving goods and people. Transportation costs influence nearly every product price because goods must be shipped from producers to consumers. Even modest percentage reductions in logistics expenses can translate into hundreds of billions in savings across global trade. Consider freight transportation. Fuel represents a major portion of shipping costs. Electrification combined with lower energy prices could significantly reduce operating expenses for trucks, ships, and delivery fleets. Automation could further decrease labor costs in logistics. When transportation becomes cheaper, supply chains become more efficient, international trade becomes more accessible, and businesses can reach broader markets with lower overhead. Healthcare is another area where cost reductions could reach staggering levels. Medical expenses represent a significant portion of GDP in many countries. Advances in biotechnology, AI-assisted diagnostics, telemedicine, and personalized medicine could reduce treatment costs while improving outcomes. Early detection powered by advanced analytics can prevent expensive late-stage interventions. Remote care reduces infrastructure burdens. Automation in administrative processes cuts overhead. The cumulative effect could save hundreds of billions annually while improving quality of life, a rare combination in economics where better outcomes align with lower costs. Financial systems themselves are also undergoing transformation. Digital payment technologies, blockchain-based settlement systems, and algorithmic financial services are reducing transaction costs. Historically, financial intermediation has involved significant fees, delays, and inefficiencies. As these systems become more streamlined, businesses and consumers retain more of their money instead of losing it to frictional costs. Even small percentage reductions in transaction expenses across global financial flows, which total hundreds of trillions annually, can create enormous economic value. Another key driver of potential trillion-dollar savings lies in productivity improvements. Productivity is the engine of wealth creation. When workers can produce more output in less time, economic growth accelerates without requiring proportional increases in resources. AI-driven tools are beginning to augment human capabilities across professions, from engineering and finance to marketing and customer service. Tasks that once required hours can now be completed in minutes. Decision-making becomes more data-driven. Errors decrease, efficiency rises. This productivity boost doesn't just reduce costs for companies, it increases earning potential for individuals and creates new industries. Historically, major productivity leaps, such as the Industrial Revolution or the Digital Revolution, have generated enormous wealth over time. The current wave of intelligent automation may represent another such leap, with cost reductions acting as the catalyst. Infrastructure modernization also plays a role. Smart cities, intelligent grids, automated traffic systems, and optimized public services can reduce waste and operating expenses. Governments spend trillions annually on infrastructure maintenance and public services. Even modest efficiency improvements across these budgets could free massive amounts of capital for investment or debt reduction. Lower government spending pressures can also stabilize economies and reduce tax burdens over time. One often overlooked aspect of falling costs is the psychological and behavioral impact on markets. When businesses anticipate lower future costs, they are more willing to invest. When consumers expect goods to become more affordable, demand patterns shift. Lower cost expectations can stimulate entrepreneurship because barriers to entry shrink. Startups require less capital to launch when technology and infrastructure are cheaper. Innovation accelerates, competition increases, and further cost reductions follow, creating a positive feedback loop. However, the distribution of these savings is not automatic. Trillion-dollar cost reductions do not guarantee that everyone benefits equally. Companies may retain profits instead of lowering prices. Workers may face job displacement in certain sectors. Regions with slower technological adoption may lag behind. Policymakers, business leaders, and investors will play crucial roles in determining how the benefits are shared across society. Investors are particularly interested in sectors where cost declines are most likely to generate exponential growth. Historically, industries experiencing rapid cost reductions, such as semiconductors or telecommunications, have produced some of the largest wealth creation opportunities. When costs fall, demand often increases because products become accessible to more people. This phenomenon, sometimes called the elasticity of demand, can transform niche technologies into mass-market industries. For example, when computing costs fell dramatically over the past decades, entirely new sectors emerged: smartphones, cloud services, social media platforms, streaming entertainment, and digital commerce. Each of these industries generated trillions in market value. Today, analysts are searching for similar patterns in emerging technologies that could trigger the next wave of wealth creation. Energy storage, artificial intelligence services, automation platforms, advanced materials, and biotech innovations are among the areas frequently discussed. If their costs decline as projected, adoption could accelerate rapidly, leading to massive economic expansion. Investors who identify these trends early may benefit disproportionately, which is why the phrase trillion-dollar impact is attracting so much attention in financial markets. Another important dimension is inflation. Rising costs across economies have been a major concern in recent years. If structural cost reductions occur at scale, they could act as a powerful counterforce to inflation. Lower production expenses reduce price pressures. Cheaper energy lowers transportation costs. Automation reduces labor-related inflation in certain industries. While not eliminating inflation entirely, widespread efficiency gains could stabilize prices and improve purchasing power. For consumers, falling costs mean increased disposable income. When households spend less on essentials like energy, transportation, and goods, they have more money available for savings, investments, or discretionary spending. This shift can stimulate economic growth because consumer spending represents a large portion of GDP in many countries. Increased savings also strengthen financial security and long-term wealth accumulation. For businesses, lower costs improve profit margins and competitiveness. Companies that adopt efficiency-enhancing technologies early often gain advantages over competitors. Higher profitability enables reinvestment into research, expansion, and workforce development. Over time, industries evolve toward higher productivity standards, benefiting the broader economy. For governments, reduced costs in infrastructure, healthcare, and public services can alleviate budget pressures. Debt burdens become more manageable when economic growth accelerates faster than expenses. Governments can allocate resources to education, innovation, and social programs instead of covering inefficiencies. Fiscal stability contributes to stronger economic environments, attracting investment and supporting long-term development. Despite the optimism surrounding potential trillion-dollar cost reductions, challenges remain. Technological transitions require upfront investment. Infrastructure upgrades take time. Regulatory frameworks must adapt to new industries. Workforce reskilling becomes essential as automation changes job markets. Economic disruptions during transitions can create temporary instability. History shows that major economic transformations rarely occur smoothly. The Industrial Revolution brought enormous wealth but also social upheaval. The digital revolution created opportunities while displacing certain industries. The current wave of cost-reducing innovation will likely follow a similar pattern, immense potential accompanied by transitional challenges. One of the most important questions facing economists today is timing. How quickly will these cost reductions materialize? Some technologies are already lowering expenses, while others remain in early stages. Adoption rates vary across regions and industries. External factors such as geopolitical tensions, supply chain disruptions, and policy decisions can accelerate or delay progress. Another critical factor is scalability. For an innovation to create trillion-dollar impact, it must scale globally. Localized efficiency gains are valuable but limited. Technologies that can be deployed across multiple industries and regions have the greatest economic potential. Digital solutions, renewable energy systems, and automation technologies often meet this criterion because they can expand without proportional increases in cost. Network effects also amplify economic impact. When adoption of a technology increases its value for users, such as digital platforms or communication networks, growth can accelerate rapidly. This dynamic can turn cost reductions into massive wealth creation engines within relatively short timeframes. Financial markets tend to anticipate these shifts before they fully materialize in the real economy. Investors analyze trends, projections, and adoption curves to estimate future value. When credible evidence suggests large-scale cost reductions are coming, capital flows into companies positioned to benefit. Stock valuations, venture funding, and strategic acquisitions often reflect expectations of future efficiency gains rather than current profits. This anticipation itself can accelerate innovation. Increased funding enables research, infrastructure development, and commercialization efforts. Companies compete to capture emerging opportunities. Governments introduce incentives to attract investment. The cycle of expectation and investment can bring projected cost reductions closer to reality. Ultimately, the concept of a trillion-dollar impact is not about a single invention or policy. It is about convergence, multiple forces aligning to reduce costs across the economic system simultaneously. When energy becomes cheaper, technology becomes more powerful, logistics becomes more efficient, and financial systems become more streamlined, the combined effect reshapes the foundation of wealth creation. And right now, many indicators suggest that such convergence may already be underway. What makes this moment particularly significant is that cost reductions are no longer confined to isolated technological niches. Instead, they are beginning to penetrate the core pillars of the global economy: energy production, industrial manufacturing, transportation systems, digital infrastructure, and even knowledge-based services. When foundational sectors experience declining costs simultaneously, the effects cascade through supply chains, labor markets, consumer behavior, and investment flows, creating compounding economic momentum that can reach trillions of dollars in cumulative impact over time. One of the strongest multipliers in this transformation is automation combined with artificial intelligence. Automation alone has existed for decades, but intelligent automation changes the equation entirely. Machines are no longer limited to repetitive physical tasks. They are increasingly capable of performing cognitive functions such as pattern recognition, forecasting, quality control, and decision support. This expansion dramatically increases the range of industries where cost reductions can occur. In manufacturing, for instance, intelligent robotics can operate continuously with minimal downtime, improving productivity while lowering per-unit production costs. Predictive maintenance systems reduce equipment failures by identifying problems before they occur, preventing costly interruptions. Supply chain optimization tools analyze massive datasets to identify inefficiencies, reducing waste and inventory expenses. When these technologies operate together, they produce efficiency gains that far exceed what any single improvement could achieve independently. Service industries are experiencing similar transformations. Financial analysis, customer support, marketing optimization, legal research, and administrative processing can now be augmented by AI systems capable of performing tasks in seconds that previously required hours or days. The economic implications are profound because service sectors represent a large share of modern economies. Even modest percentage improvements in efficiency across these sectors can translate into hundreds of billions of dollars in savings annually. Another crucial area of potential cost reduction lies in data itself. Historically, data collection, storage, and analysis were expensive processes accessible primarily to large organizations. Today, cloud infrastructure and advanced analytics tools are democratizing access to data-driven decision-making. Small businesses can leverage capabilities once reserved for multinational corporations. As information becomes cheaper to acquire and analyze, decision quality improves across the economy. Better decisions reduce waste, prevent costly mistakes, and optimize resource allocation, all contributing to lower overall costs. Energy transition remains one of the most powerful drivers of potential trillion-dollar impact. The cost curve for renewable energy technologies has followed a pattern similar to Moore's law in computing. Consistent declines driven by technological improvement and scale. Solar panel manufacturing costs have fallen dramatically over the past 2 decades. Wind turbine efficiency has increased. Battery storage prices have dropped significantly. As these trends continue, entire energy systems may become cheaper to build and operate than traditional fossil fuel infrastructure. Electrification amplifies these benefits. Electric vehicles, for example, have fewer moving parts than internal combustion engines, reducing maintenance costs. When powered by low-cost renewable energy, operating expenses decline further. Fleet operators, logistics companies, and public transportation systems stand to benefit from substantial savings over time. These savings ripple outward, lowering transportation costs for goods and services across the economy. Industrial processes are also evolving toward electrification and efficiency. Technologies such as electric furnaces, advanced heat pumps, and energy-efficient manufacturing methods can reduce operational expenses significantly. When industries consume less energy per unit of output, production costs fall, improving competitiveness and profitability. Digital infrastructure is another area where costs could decline dramatically. Data centers, communication networks, and computing resources form the backbone of modern economies. Advances in semiconductor design, cooling technologies, and distributed computing architectures are improving performance while lowering cost per unit of computation. As computing becomes cheaper, innovation accelerates because entrepreneurs and researchers gain access to powerful tools at lower expense. Lower digital infrastructure costs also enable new business models. Subscription services, on-demand platforms, and digital marketplaces reduce overhead associated with physical assets. Companies can scale globally without proportional increases in cost, allowing rapid expansion and wealth creation. Consumers benefit from lower prices and greater convenience, reinforcing demand growth. Healthcare innovation represents a particularly important dimension because of its dual impact on costs and human well-being. Advances in genomics, AI-driven diagnostics, wearable monitoring devices, and personalized treatments are gradually shifting healthcare from reactive to preventive models. Preventive care reduces the need for expensive emergency interventions and chronic disease management. Early detection technologies can identify health issues before they become severe, lowering treatment costs while improving outcomes. Telemedicine and remote monitoring also reduce infrastructure burdens. Patients can receive care without traveling to hospitals, saving time and resources. Healthcare providers can serve more patients efficiently. Administrative automation reduces paperwork costs, which represent a significant portion of healthcare spending in many countries. When combined, these innovations have the potential to save enormous amounts of money globally while improving quality of life, an outcome rarely seen in large-scale economic transformations. Agriculture is another sector undergoing cost-reducing innovation. Precision farming technologies use sensors, satellite data, and AI analytics to optimize irrigation, fertilization, and crop management. Farmers can produce higher yields with fewer resources, lowering production costs and reducing environmental impact. Automation in harvesting and processing reduces labor expenses. Improved supply chain logistics minimize food waste. As food production becomes more efficient, prices can stabilize or decline, benefiting consumers worldwide. Construction and infrastructure development also hold potential for major cost reductions. Advanced materials, modular construction techniques, 3D printing technologies, and automated equipment can reduce building costs and project timelines. Infrastructure projects historically suffer from delays and budget overruns. Improved planning software and predictive analytics can mitigate these risks, saving governments and companies billions of dollars annually. Education, traditionally resistant to cost reductions due to physical infrastructure and labor requirements, is also evolving. Online learning platforms, virtual classrooms, and AI-powered tutoring systems can deliver high-quality education at lower cost per student. As access to affordable education expands, workforce skills improve, productivity rises, and economic growth accelerates. Education cost reductions have long-term wealth implications because human capital is one of the most valuable assets in any economy. Financial technology innovations are reshaping how money moves through the system. Instant payment networks, automated lending platforms, digital identity verification, and decentralized financial tools reduce transaction costs and administrative overhead. Businesses receive payments faster, improving cash flow. Consumers gain access to financial services with lower fees. Reduced friction in financial systems increases economic efficiency and stimulates investment activity. Another dimension often overlooked is regulatory efficiency. Governments worldwide are exploring digital governance systems that streamline licensing, compliance reporting, tax processing, and public services. Bureaucratic inefficiencies impose hidden costs on businesses and individuals. When regulatory processes become faster and more transparent, economic activity accelerates. Entrepreneurs spend less time navigating paperwork and more time building value. Workforce dynamics also play a role in cost structures. Remote work technologies have already demonstrated the potential to reduce office expenses, commuting costs, and geographic salary disparities. Companies can access global talent pools without relocating employees. Workers can live in lower-cost areas while maintaining income levels. These shifts alter economic geography, potentially redistributing wealth and lowering operational expenses simultaneously. However, the impact of falling costs extends beyond economics into geopolitics. Nations that successfully adopt cost-reducing technologies may gain competitive advantages in trade, manufacturing, and innovation. Lower production costs enable exports to become more competitive globally. Countries with abundant low-cost energy can attract industrial investment. Technological leadership can translate into economic influence. This dynamic may reshape global power balances over time. Economic strength has historically been closely linked to technological advancement and productivity. If cost reductions occur unevenly across regions, disparities could widen between countries that adopt innovations quickly and those that lag behind. International cooperation, technology transfer, and investment flows will influence how benefits are distributed globally. Environmental sustainability is another critical aspect of the trillion-dollar cost narrative. Many cost-reducing technologies also reduce environmental impact. Renewable energy lowers carbon emissions. Efficient manufacturing reduces resource consumption. Precision agriculture minimizes chemical use. Electric transportation reduces air pollution. When sustainability aligns with cost savings, adoption accelerates because economic incentives reinforce environmental goals. Investors are increasingly aware of this alignment. Capital is flowing toward companies that combine efficiency improvements with sustainability benefits. Green finance initiatives, environmental investment funds, and corporate sustainability commitments are influencing how resources are allocated. Over time, this trend could accelerate cost reductions further by supporting innovation and scaling of efficient technologies. Despite the enormous potential, transitions of this magnitude require careful management. Job displacement remains one of the most sensitive challenges. Automation and efficiency improvements may reduce demand for certain types of labor even as they create new opportunities elsewhere. Workforce retraining, education programs, and social safety nets become essential to ensure that economic gains translate into broad societal benefits rather than concentrated wealth. Corporate strategy will also determine how cost savings are distributed. Companies may choose to increase profits, lower prices, or reinvest in innovation. Competitive pressures often force at least some savings to pass through to consumers, but market concentration can influence outcomes. Regulatory oversight and competition policies may play roles in ensuring fair distribution of benefits. Monetary policy implications are also significant. If structural cost reductions reduce inflationary pressures, central banks may adjust interest rate strategies. Lower inflation environments historically support investment and asset price growth, but they also require careful management to prevent financial imbalances. Economic policymakers must balance growth opportunities with financial stability concerns. Historical patterns suggest that periods of rapid cost reduction often coincide with waves of wealth creation. The expansion of railroads reduced transportation costs and opened new markets. Electricity enabled mass production and urban growth. The internet lowered communication costs and created digital economies. Each wave produced companies that became giants of their era while transforming everyday life. In the coming years, the integration of artificial intelligence, renewable energy, automation, digital infrastructure, and other transformative technologies is expected to accelerate. As these forces converge, savings compound, productivity rises, and markets expand. The economic and societal benefits of falling costs will manifest across industries, geographies, and demographics, fundamentally reshaping the landscape of wealth creation. Ultimately, the trillion-dollar impact underscores a central principle of modern economics. Wealth is generated not only by generating revenue, but by increasing efficiency, reducing barriers, and optimizing resource utilization. When humanity leverages technology and innovation to lower costs at scale, the effects ripple outward, unlocking new opportunities, enhancing prosperity, and redefining the boundaries of economic potential. The stage is set for a transformative period where strategic foresight, investment, and adoption of efficiency-enhancing technologies will determine who thrives in the next era of global wealth creation.